Hello, everyone. This is a new idea I have. I've had it in the pipeline for a little bit, and after taking off a couple weeks just due to a change in a work schedule, I thought, let's try and change things up. I will, post some things about, the Racing is Life podcast that I have been doing, but I thought, I want to see how this does, and I do want to continue with the Racing is Life podcast, but I also want to try this idea, see if it has any steam to it. So, with that in mind, welcome to the introduction video for my James Bond movie tournament series. I came up with this idea just after March Madness concluded, or once they were in like the final four or something, so it was right at the end or just after this year's March Madness that I decided, you know what? Prior to No Time to Die coming out, we have 24 official James Bond movies. And guess what that works out with? A bracket. Now, let me see. Out of your 24 movies, 8 are going to get a first round bye. And then I have to do the other 16. They have to go face off against another movie in the first round. Now, what I did with this with this tournament bracket was. Actually, let me post the bracket up so you guys can keep track of everything and let me know if it works or not, because this is a PDF. And if not, I can always post it afterwards, which would have made sense to have it ready beforehand. But, And yeah, that's not going to work. So, I'll have to figure out a way to get that up for you guys, but I'll explain it in the introduction video here. I'm not going to be on long, but I just figured, give a little introduction video, explain what the bracket is going to entail, and go from there. So, like I said, there are going to be 16 movies that are facing off against another movie in the first round. And I plan on starting that this upcoming Tuesday. My plan is to do 2 matchups a week. So the plan now is Tuesday and Thursday. And knowing the way things are with me, I'm probably not going to be live streaming these, just due to the fact I feel like I'm going to get behind on that, and I at least want to try and devote one day to just recording these and then posting them on said days. Tuesday and Thursday. I'm hoping maybe possibly to start that this weekend, possibly. My work schedule's not the same this week, so hopefully I can work them both out and just do something accordingly. And like I said, I'm going to be posting them 2 days a week, try and get my channel a little bit more of a flow to content. I've just been tired the last few weeks, and I thought, let's try something a little bit different. So, before I get into the movies, let's talk about what I will be grading the movies on. Because I came up with a handful of categories that I think, if anyone else were to do this idea, they would think, okay, these are the things they would base the movie off of. So, my 4 ideas right now that I'm going to be basing every movie off of, and hold off on the 4 points, because I realize that can create an issue, but just hold on just a second. So the 4 ideas I'm going to be basing all the movies off of initially are the plot, the villains, how effective they are, and that will include the henchmen somewhat as well. Mainly the main villain, though with some of these movies you have an issue with 1, possibly 2 villains. James Bond's performance, so how, like, say, Roger Moore, Sean Connery, Timothy Dalton, Daniel Craig, and others portray their portrayal of Bond is in this movie. How effective it is. Like, if you can tell, they're really not into it.
Sean Connery, you only live twice.
But sometimes this is. Some of these movies are known for each Bond actor. They have, like, a great performance. So obviously, those will have. Sorry about that. Each Bond actor has his great performances and his not so great performances. So that will be a point of topic to decide which movie gets a point. And then the pre-title sequence. I think the pre-title sequence is important because it can, it's going to be at the beginning of the movie. So how effective is it in thinking, oh, cool, I'm going to be seeing this movie. This has me pumped, for the next 2 hours, say, depending on how long the movie is. But just say on average 2 hours, if they do an effective job of really getting you to think, all right, cool, this is how I'm going to spend my next couple hours. So, being that there are 4 topics, there are chances that one movie gets 2 points, the other gets 2 points. And that leads to a tie. So, how, in that case, Zach, are you going to get a tiebreaker? Well, I have an extra 3 topics that I will use as a tiebreaker. I won't tell you them yet. I'm going to figure out how I'm going to implement that, because obviously I think I'm going to have to mention them in some form, just because you don't want me to say you don't want me to keep them secret, but you do want to know. I mean, you do want to know, but my initial intent was to keep them secret until, like, the end, but I don't know if that's really going to be that effective. So, some people have said, well, why don't you just do like 5 topics, because you're not going to have a tiebreaker. But I do have 3 solid categories that I think, I just have an idea now that I'm just thinking about it now. But you could have a tiebreaker. I mean, I think it would just be interesting to have that, and I got off track because of the idea I had. In which is, okay, you have 4 categories, and with your 3 extra categories, you get 7 categories. Put 2 zeros in front of that. What do you get? 007. But, no, all these topics that I'm going to be basing the movie off of, they are good, great ideas on how to rank a Bond film. None of them are really bad. So, now that I'm talking about this now, I might be changing some things around. I'm not sure. Because now that I'm thinking about it, why have a tiebreaker? Just do your 7 ideas. I mean, James Bond is 007. So, the things you don't think of until you're actually you're broadcasting. So, yeah, I might just do another quick video. I'll have to think about that, but I just want to introduce this video real quick. So, alright, so with the schedule, I have mentioned just a few minutes ago, I'm not going to be live streaming these too often. I might live stream maybe the final 4, but as of right now, like I said, with my work schedule and everything going on, I mean, it is summertime. I might just be taking a day and recording both of these and posting them. They will be posted on Tuesday and Wednesday, and not Wednesday, Thursday. So with that in mind, I am going to, let me think. Let me get the calendar. I am starting this Tuesday, and with the random bracket, I thought the best first round matchup, the great introduction to this tournament idea. Obviously, I got to grab your attention early and quick. So that means with my first matchup, I got to pick the best of the best, which I had a couple different options here. But I thought, why not get a movie, one of the original movies from back in the 60s, and one of the newer films from, the Daniel Craig era. So this upcoming Tuesday, June 29th, I will be uploading the episode for Skyfall versus From Russia with Love, and I thought, this one's going to be interesting. I don't know which one I would pick, because Skyfall is definitely one of, as I've had this discussion with Nigel Pulley, Skyfall is, if not the best, a close second to Casino Royale as far as Daniel Craig's Bond films, if you were to rank them. So, and if Skyfall happens to win this matchup versus From Russia with Love, guess who's going up against? Casino Royale. Interesting how that works out. Thank you, random generator. But so Skyfall is one of the last few Bond movies that came out, and it is definitely, like I said, one of the highlights of Daniel Craig's. And then you have From Russia with Love, who, with that being the second film for the James Bond series, and it's a decent movie overall. But at that point, it is only the second movie, and there are people out there who are saying it's not until Goldfinger, which is the third film, that you get the full effect of what a James Bond movie is going to be. So, From Russia with Love, they're still testing some things out, but it's still not a bad movie. So I thought blending a newer movie with one of the original movies, I thought was a great way to start this tournament. So that's going to be next Tuesday, and then we'll be in July. And I will, to the best of my ability, try and follow this calendar I have. But next Thursday, a week from today, we will have A View to a Kill versus Octopussy, the last two of the Roger Moore Bond films. So I'm mixing and going up and down the bracket. So I'm not following any particular order. I just thought, start out with something good. Thursday's not going to be that good. I am not too big of a fan of either A View to a Kill or Octopussy. So yeah, I just thought, get this one out of the way and go from there. So I won't try and bash it too much. So that's going to be the first week, or those two brackets. Then the following week, July 6th and July 8th, we are going to have, on July 6th, we are going to have Pierce Brosnan's last performance as Bond in Die Another Day versus George Lazenby's only performance as James Bond in On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Die Another Day is, I got into James Bond. I don't know if it was before Die Another Day came out or shortly thereafter, but that gives you like a timeline of how long I've been a Bond fan. So, Die Another Day's kind of nostalgic in that way for me, as it was the latest film, or the film coming out as I became a Bond fan. So, we'll have to see how it racks up against On Her Majesty's Secret Service, which I have seen a few times, but it is probably one of my least watched Bond films. So off the top of my head, I would have to watch. I couldn't probably go by muscle memory of what I think of this film. So I would definitely have to rewatch that one. So that one's going to be an interesting matchup because, like I said, I'm not too as familiar with On Her Majesty's Secret Service as I am with other films. Like I am, say, for example, with Die Another Day. And it's also interesting because Die Another Day has its moments. It's, from what I gather, not highly ranked in the Bond community. So that's going to be an interesting matchup and see how that goes on, how that turns out. And then the next matchup we will have is, I think, another interesting matchup because after On Her Majesty's Secret Service, George Lazenby decided not to come back to the Bond franchise. And guess who comes back? Sean Connery for Diamonds Are Forever. So, Diamonds Are Forever was a one-time return for an official one-time return as James Bond for Sean Connery. And then he would be replaced by Roger Moore in 1973's Live and Let Die. So, Diamonds Are Forever versus Live and Let Die. I definitely like that matchup, just because you're at the end of the Connery era officially, and then the beginning of the Roger Moore era. So, yeah, both these films I have watched. I don't want to give too much of an opinion on what I like and what I don't like, but Diamonds Are Forever is kind of a weaker Connery film. That it's still not bad, but it's definitely one of Sean Connery's weaker, if not weakest, Bond performance officially. And then now that we're gonna have Roger Moore, he's obviously got it seems like with every Bond, their first couple films, it takes them a couple films to find what they want to be with James Bond. So, but with that being said, with Roger Moore, I think Live and Let Die is, some like it as their favorite Roger Moore film. And if not, it's usually ranked up in the top 3, if not the top half of the Roger Moore Bond films. So that one's going to be interesting. And that's going to be happening 2 weeks from today on July 8th. The following week, which will consist of July 13th and July 15th, on the 13th, Tuesday, we will have the third performance by Pierce Brosnan as James Bond, The World Is Not Enough, versus the sophomore Daniel Craig effort of Quantum of Solace. World Is Not Enough is another very nostalgic one for me, as that was, let me think, that was actually the first Bond movie I ever got on VHS. So that was like the first Bond movie I saw. Plus, I still have my Nintendo 64, and if I were to hook that back up, I would probably, one of the first games I would play is the World Is Not Enough video game. So that one's very nostalgic, and Quantum of Solace is, both of these films I think would be ranked very, if you were to rank all the Bond movies in order, these two are going to be ranked very close together. So let's just say one's 15th, the other's 17th. They're very close together, so I think that's going to be an interesting matchup between those two. And it's interesting because while I was, paying attention to the Pierce Brosnan films, those were the first ones I was introduced to. Daniel Craig's James Bond is really the first James Bond actor that I have paid attention, and pretty much he's the only one that I've paid attention to his whole career as James Bond, and can be like, okay, I remember when this movie was coming out, so on and so forth. So this one's going to be another interesting matchup. And then that Thursday, we are having. If I were to do a betting system, this is safe money. Like I said, I don't want to be too biased, but I just think it's so hard in some cases and with this bracket not to be. But July 15th, we are having Man with the Golden Gun versus, and this is complete. This matchup is on complete polar opposites of the Bond spectrum. Man with the Golden Gun is not one of the most loved James Bond films, so it's on the Mount Rushmore of not of the what you don't want to be with a James Bond film, versus a James Bond film that would be on the Mount Rushmore of James Bond movies. And that movie is the third outing for Sean Connery and the third film overall, Goldfinger. So if I figure out how to get this bracket up for everyone to see, you're going to see some of these matchups are, okay, this one's moving on. So I think that I'm not going to try and feed around the bush there. It's Goldfinger is moving on in that one. But let's see if a Man with the Golden Gun can get any points. And yeah, that's that. So the following week, and let me see, because 15th. Hopefully I didn't screw this up with the calendar. I did not screw this up with the calendar. So we have 2 more weeks, 4 more matchups to go in the first round. Next up, we have another interesting matchup, and they are both debut performances for 2 James Bond actors. It is the debut of Pierce Brosnan in GoldenEye, and not only the first effort as James Bond for Sean Connery, but the first Bond film in the series, Dr. No. And this is an interesting matchup to me because, it's the first James Bond film. And it's kind of like a soft reboot in GoldenEye. So that will be interesting to see how those two match up. The following Thursday, we will have For Your Eyes Only. And what seems like many moons ago that this movie came out, as we wait and wait and wait for No Time to Die. The last, as of this recording, last officially released James Bond film, Spectre. And to be honest, I have Spectre on DVD. Haven't watched it yet, so I have to watch Spectre and give it a review. And obviously, because I can't, just seeing clips of it, I can't just say, oh, hey, I like this movie better than Spectre. No, I got to be fair. So yeah, that's hence one of the reasons why it's going up later on in the bracket. So For Your Eyes Only will be going up against Spectre. And that leaves us with 2 more matchups, 1 more week for our first round bracket. So that leads... you know what? I stand corrected. That is the first round. So, those are the 8 matchups, 16 films that have to go up against another film in the first round. And like I said, you have 24 Bond films, so that means 8 films get a first round bye. And as I've said, this bracket was randomly generated, so the 8 films that get first round byes are by no means my 8 favorite films, but it's just how they were randomly generated. And once I tell you the 8 films with a bye, I will go into some detail about which matchups will be going up against the first round bye movies. So, in order from 1 to 8, we have... These are the films with the first round bye. You have You Only Live Twice as number 1. The number 2 seed is The Living Daylights. Number 3 is Moonraker. 4 is The Spy Who Loved Me. Number 5 is Casino Royale. Number 6 is License to Kill, followed by Thunderball at number 7, and racking out the first round buys is Tomorrow Never Dies. So when I did this bracket, where I was hitting the randomize button, I wanted to make sure all the movies were deserving of a first round buy in at least some sort. Yeah, you might look at this and be like, well, Zach, I'm just looking at this bracket now. Dr. No and GoldenEye should have first round buys. Yeah, you're right. Maybe it should be the top 8 films, but I wanted to randomize this as much as possible, but I didn't want to give a film that I don't necessarily like or am like meh on a first round buy. So films like Man with the Golden Gun, A View to a Kill, or Octopussy aren't going to get first round buys. So if I hit the randomize and once I was done hitting it, I saw some of those films had first round buys, I'm like, okay, let's regenerate this a few more times. So all of those 8 films I just mentioned, I think in my opinion, they are at least decent movies, if not some of the better ones. So they're all deserving of a first round buy in some form or fashion. So with that in mind, I might be getting a little bit ahead of myself here, but I'll just conclude this video by saying, bringing up the first round matchups and the winner of that first round matchup, which movie they will go on to face in the second round. So, I'm just going to go from the top of the bracket to the very bottom. You know what? Let's do this in order. By date. So, let me find the date. So, the winner of Skyfall versus From Russia with Love, the winner of that, as I mentioned, talking about Skyfall before, will go up against Casino Royale. Then on July 1st, A View to a Kill versus Octopussy will face the winner. Whoever wins that one will be going up against The Living Daylights. July 6th, the winner of Die Another Day versus On Her Majesty's Secret Service will be facing The Spy Who Loved Me. Thursday, July 8th, the winner of Live and Let Die versus Diamonds Are Forever will be facing Moonraker. So there we are. Trying to find the next bracket here. Alright. Next up you have July 13th. The World Is Not Enough versus Quantum of Solace. The winner of that one will be facing Tomorrow Never Dies. The 15th of July, Man with the Golden Gun versus Goldfinger. Odds are pretty good. It's Goldfinger versus Thunderball. So that's that. And then the last week we will have, starting July 20th, we will have the winner of GoldenEye versus Dr. No. They will face You Only Live Twice. And then to round things out, on July 22nd, the winner of For Your Eyes Only versus Spectre will go up against License to Kill. And the second round bracket, once that is all set after the first round, it'll be the same format. Well, not exactly the same format. There will be the exact same number of matchups in the second round as there are in the first round. And then at that point, there will be 8 second round matchups. And then we'll go to 4 matchups in the third round. Fourth round, the final 4, you have 2 matchups. And then your fifth round, your finale, you will have the final 2 Bond films going up against one another. So I'm interested to see how this will turn out, because the one way I could have did this is just quickly rank the Bond films from 1 to 24 and how I like them. But I thought the random bracket generator would really work out well, and it's going to be interesting. I think there are weak points of this bracket, and there are some very solid, brackets. I basically divide this into 4 brackets. Um, and yeah, some I look at and I'm like, this is gonna be tough. And then others I'm just like, okay. Once I don't want to give too much of it, because I don't want to spoil it to be like, hey, if I were to mention, hey, this movie's in a really weak bracket, so odds are pretty good it's moving on to at least the third, if not fourth round potentially. I don't want to give you too much of that, but it's going to be an interesting bracket. So I'll leave that at that. And like I said, had an idea in mind, prior to getting started here. Just do four Bond ideas, and if it leads to a tiebreaker, do your 3 ideas. I mean, you're tie-breaking 3, but why not do all 7 together? Because, as I've mentioned before, James Bond is known as 007. So that is that. I just wanted to introduce the series and give you a little bit of a introduction to the series. And yeah, well, I hopefully you will enjoy this. Like the Racing is Life podcast, the first few episodes might be a little bit bumpy, but your first couple performances aren't going to be your best, so you only get better from there. So with that in mind, I'm going to get off here and get ready for this in the following week. And like I said, I'm probably just going to be posting these just with the work schedule and everything I have going on. So if you have any thoughts, please feel free to share them. And please like this video, share the video however you want, and please subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate your help with all that, and that's it for the stream. So have a good afternoon, everyone.